It isn't easy to find beautiful, well-made sewing patterns for children, but today I'm going to share the absolute best from across the internet so that you don't have to go hunting anymore. Hello everyone, if you're new here, my name is Ines and I love to share our family's journey to a slow and handmade home, and increasingly that is involving sharing lots of sewing projects and ideas for sewing. And a question I've been getting loads recently is about what sewing patterns I like for children, some of the best brands out there for beginners particularly, but also across the board. And so today I'm going to share all of my favourite sewing patterns for children. Probably will end up being quite a long list, but I will link everything down in the bottom so that if you would like to go and have a go at these yourself, then you can click the link there. First up is my absolute favourite place to go for children's sewing patterns. It's run by a lovely German lady called Christina, and her patterns are absolutely gorgeous. The name of the brand is Flora Child Co. They were originally only on Etsy, but now she has her own website, and on there is a whole bunch of gorgeous children's patterns that are set apart, I think, by their beautiful kind of unique details. Her instructions are always impeccable, super easy to follow even if you're a beginner, and there's a good range of easy patterns right the way through to more complicated ones. My favourite patterns from Flora Child are the bluebell dress, which I think now I've made about 4 times, including one that I made from an old shirt. So if you enjoy my shirt upcycle videos, then head over to Instagram, I'll leave a link below, and you'll find a tutorial for how to make the bluebell dress out of an old shirt. I will also insert clips of one that I made from old thrifted linens, embroidered linens. In fact, you can see it just behind me here, but I'll insert close-ups so that you can take a look at the details of the dress. There are so many options with this pattern. You can add ruffles on the shoulders, you can add extra tiers, you can have the buttons on the front or on the back. I think there's other options too, so loads of ways of customizing the dress and making it look a little bit different each time. The other pattern that I absolutely love from Flora Child is called the Sage Pants, and I think this is just the perfect children's trouser pattern. It has a really lovely, relaxed, kind of baggy fit, but is also super easy and quick to make. So again, I've made several pairs of these, and if you're a pretty proficient sewer, you could probably make them in an afternoon or less. I often find that it makes a lot of sense to make more than one pair at the same time. So if I've got the pattern printed in a certain size, then I will just cut out 2 sets and sew them up really quickly, sort of like a batch. The next brand that I wanted to mention is called AYO or AYO Mini, I'm not quite sure how you say it. This is a Polish brand that make beautiful, simple sewing patterns for children, and I particularly love that they have several options for boys. So the pattern that I've made and really enjoyed from this brand is the quilted jacket pattern, which again you can see behind me, but I'll insert close-ups. And I made this for my son, and he wore it to death over the winter. He wore it so much. It was really good either by itself, just as a jacket in the kind of autumn or spring, but then also layered underneath a thicker waterproof jacket for an extra layer of warmth. The batting that I used in the middle was made of wool, so that gave it that extra bit of warmth, although obviously then it's a little bit harder to wash. But I really liked that he was going to get the extra warmth from it. Again, this is a super easy beginner pattern. I think it only took me probably the equivalent of an afternoon, although I sewed it in evenings because children. So yeah, if you're looking for something easy to start off with, then this is a great option. It's also a really nice option if you'd like to try your hand at quilting. So you can make the jacket from pre-quilted fabric, or you can choose to quilt your own and then make it out of that. So yeah, if you're thinking of getting into quilting, then this is a really good introductory option. There are 2 other patterns from this brand that I wanted to mention. One is the wrap top, which I have bought and I'm just about to print to make a little top and trousers set with the Sage Pants from Flora for my little boy. And then the other one is the ruffle dress, which I think is just a gorgeous winter dress option that is high on my list for sewing come the autumn. The next brand to mention is called Oh Me Oh My, And this brand has probably hundreds of different sewing patterns. A lot of them are super beginner friendly, and they also have a really good choice of both stretch patterns and woven patterns. So if you prefer to sew with stretch fabrics and make kind of comfy stretchy clothes for your kids, then I would definitely have a look at Oh Me, Oh My. I'll pop up some of my favourite patterns on the screen just as I'm talking, because honestly there's too many to talk through. But yeah, a great place to go, particularly if you've kind of exhausted every other option and you're just not sure where to find something. Almost certainly Oh Me, Oh My will have it, and it will be really good quality. Next up is a brand run by a lovely lady called Courtney, and it's called Rooney Clothing. Courtney actually has a channel here on YouTube, and all of her patterns come with video tutorials as well as written instructions, which if you're a beginner I think is a total game changer for helping you to figure out what you're doing and helping you to learn how to read a pattern and how that translates into actually making the clothing. There's a pretty good range of different kinds of sewing patterns available through Rooney, but the thing that she definitely specialises in is dresses, and particularly dresses for mum and daughter. So if you like to match with your little girl, then Rooney is a great place to go to get a matching dress for you and your little girl. She also has a few beginner stash busting type projects. So she has a really sweet little bear pattern that you can make out of just scraps, and then also a slipper pattern which I actually made at Christmas time. So I made a pair of slippers for both my eldest boy and my little girl, and it was really cute. They were matching. They were also pretty easy to make. They can be a little bit fiddly because they're tiny, but in terms of the actual skills involved, it's pretty straightforward. Again, I will insert cutaways of the slippers I made, but you will probably notice in the cutaways that the two slippers are different sizes, and that's because I could only find one from my son's pair and one from my daughter's pair, because they obviously haven't worn them for a long time because it's summer right now. So you'll get the idea, but don't worry, I didn't accidentally make them different sizes. Another brand that I really like is called Rose and Rail, and I believe these are only available on Etsy, but I will double check before I put all the details in the description box. Rose and Rail don't have loads of different options, but the ones that they do have are very sweet and well designed, and there's one pattern in particular that is really high on my list to sew for the autumn, and that is this harem romper, which I will put pictures of on the screen. I just love the shape of the trousers on this. I love the gathering and the curved seam at the front. I think this is a really special, unusual pattern that will look super cute on little children, because they always look really cute when they have those big baggy trousers. So I wanted to give this one a mention, even though I haven't made it yet, because it is just beautiful. Another brand that make excellent children's sewing patterns is called Waves and Wild. Again, I think another Australian brand. And in particular, they have a really, really lovely dungaree pattern, which is always my first recommendation if people ask for a dungaree pattern. They're called the Heyday Dungarees, and similar to some of the other ones I've mentioned, they have lots of different options for customizing. So you can have the straps go front to back or back to front. You can add elastic around the cuffs or not. Little details like that that allow you to make the dungarees exactly as you want them to be. I do actually have a tutorial coming soon for how to make the Heyday Dungarees from an old shirt, again, because you guys love those tutorials that I do. So if you would like to make them and you've got an old shirt, then watch out for that, probably coming in the next few weeks. Aside from the dungaree pattern, there's a whole other range of patterns available, many of which again are made with stretch fabrics. So if you like stretch clothing for your children, then Waves and Wild is another great one to check out. The final brand that I wanted to mention is called Fibre Mood. Fibre Mood make amazing patterns for women actually, so definitely worth checking out if you like patterns for women, but they also have a really sweet collection of patterns for children as well. The reason I wanted to mention Fibre Mood is actually that they have a really great selection of kind of unisex and boy friendly patterns. Often what you'll find is that there are more patterns available for dresses for little girls or kind of frilly dungarees, that kind of thing. I think because people like making clothes for little girls, which is kind of understandable. But if you do also have boys, I've got 2 boys already and another one on the way, which is, you heard it here first, another boy on the way. So boy patterns for me are really high on the list, and Fibre Mood is a great place to go for them. One pattern from them in particular that is really high on my list to make is this indigo jumpsuit. I can see my eldest, my nearly 6-year-old, wearing one of these to romp up and down trees and run around, and it just being really hard wearing and long lasting. So I suspect that I will be making one of these come the autumn. Like I said, I will leave the links for every pattern that I've mentioned down in the description box, so if you'd like to go and have a closer look at any of the ones I've mentioned, then do head down there. And I would also love to hear in the comments if I've missed any good children's sewing patterns. So if you have some that you particularly like, maybe that you've made several times and are tried and tested, then do drop them in the comment box. If you like sewing for your children and you haven't yet seen my shirt upcycle videos, then I will leave the most popular one here, which is where I turned an old shirt into a little children's romper. This is one of my most popular videos, most popular ideas, so if you haven't seen that yet, then you will definitely love it. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Bye!